this session today is to really go over a release that we had yesterday that was 6 months in the making. We've actually advertised this on our news and press releases page on bookeasy.com, which can be found under our About section, news and press releases. What we released yesterday was some availability enhancements to Bookeasy, which we've outlined here. Now, there are a couple of things that we actually released. We released a new schema for the way availability is handled in Bookeasy, which provides some performance enhancements. This release that we did yesterday is been staged so that we're applying it to everything accommodation first, and then in a subsequent release next year we're going to actually be bringing it out for tours and tickets as well in that respect. So in regards to this too, I'd like to also point out that all of this was possible thanks to our partner Parks Victoria. So Parks Victoria commissioned this project a number of months ago, and we've been heavily involved in getting this over the line. There was a lot of back-end stuff we needed to do in regards to enhancing the availability, and the end result is enhanced availability functionality and the introduction of a new booking timer. So this booking timer I'll be going through today is applied to all Bookeasy staff consoles and can also be applied to everybody's destination website, along with new operator console availability screens as a result of the new availability schema that we released. We've also provided help documentation, so I'll just flag that on this page where from our news page in regards to this release that we did yesterday. Right down the bottom we've got some help documentation in regards to the new availability screens for the Bookeasy Rooms consoles for accommodation operators. We've got a help guide in regards to the booking timer, which I'll be going through shortly, and also the booking timer integration for third-party developers and also those who have their websites built by Bookeasy Digital. Now I think what I'll do, I might cap off today's session by starting off with the operator console. So in my browser window here, I actually already have an operator console that I've logged into. This is a test console, and what I'll go through are the changes that we've made here in regards to the availability screens. And where this is really important is for those of you who are supporting your tourism operators. Obviously this is a change that has been introduced to your tourism operators and your accommodation providers, especially those that are self-managed. And what I mean by self-managed, it's those accommodation operators who are not using a channel manager and are therefore maintaining their room availability via their Bookeasy Rooms console directly. Now the first thing I'll point out is not much has changed on this screen. We still have our availability link here on the main dashboard. We've also still have it under the reservations link here. We've called it room availability. Now prior to the release there were a couple of availability options here. One was to access the availability screen, and the other was to block or unblock a range of dates. Now that's all been merged into one screen. The other menu item I'd just like to point out is we've also doubled up and added a room availability menu item under the setup option. We just did that just to cover base really because we found accommodation operators weren't sure which one to go to when they were using the menu, so we put it in both places for ease of use. Regardless of which one you click on, whether it's the main dashboard link or the top menu, you'll then be navigated to our availability screen where you'll be able to then see the room availability of our operators. Now in regards to the availability screen here, a lot's changed. Now the first thing I'd like to point out is at a glance we no longer have multiple rows displaying on the screen, and we kind of did that on purpose. So you'll notice here that for each room, in this particular operator, this test operator has 4 rooms set up, and for each of these rooms we have just one row displaying, and this row here represents the number of rooms that are physically available at this point in time. So at a glance you're going to be able to see, okay, what's available for each room. At the top of the page here, you'll also notice that we have a new action bar, really, where you can select dates, select the rooms, and do all sorts of actions. I'll come back to that later. And obviously, we've got our calendar running across the top as well. So at the moment, we're looking at the month of November, and we can actually view future months or previous months by either selecting the back and forward buttons or by selecting the drop down by jumping to a specific month in mind. Now, in regards to this new view that we're seeing, the next thing really is worthwhile noticing is that for every room that is viewable here, the name of the room is actually a little panel that can be clicked on. So if I was to click on the Deluxe Suite option here, what it does, it expands that room to give us a more detailed view. Now, this detailed view, what we actually now see is not only the rooms that are available, but we also see any closeouts. So a closeout is rooms that have been blocked out manually by the operator. We also have a row called bookings. Now, what the bookings row represents is whether or not other bookings that are received via the tourism centres and destination websites for all the centres that the operator is actually linked to. So any time a closeout row has a value or a bookings row has a value, will automatically reduce the amount of available rooms. We've now also introduced a fourth row. It's this reserved row. And what this reserved row is, it's part of the new booking timer functionality. And I'll be showing you guys shortly how when an item is added to the shopping cart, that product is automatically reserved and therefore reducing the availability of the operator's availability number of rooms. So ultimately, part of the release and this project was the ability to be able to throw something in the shopping cart, an availability product in the shopping cart, and ensure that nobody else can book it while it is in the shopping cart and in session. So it just basically means that no one's going to be able to come in externally, whether it's on a destination website or through your Bookeasy staff console, and book something that you are attempting to book because you have it in the cart. We'll come back to that shortly. We also, when you're viewing the detailed view, you can also see the maximum number of rooms that are available for each room that you expand. Okay. Now, one thing to point out is that none of these additional rows, such as the closeout row, the bookings row, or the reserve row, are clickable. They are view only. They're more to provide a graphical representation of what is going on with that room. Now, if I click here to collapse this room, you'll notice that when it comes to, I'll go into now about selecting dates for wanting to do updates, and there are a number of ways that this can be done. The first thing that you'll notice is that in the top left-hand corner of this screen here, we have a dates field. Now, if I click on the dates field, we get this pop-up, and the pop-up is going to provide us with a range of options, and we've provided some quick links as well to make life a bit easier. So, for example, you'll notice that there's an option to click today, tomorrow, the next 7 days, this month, or next month. So if I wanted to update availability for today, I can just click today, and you'll notice that straight away it is highlighted all my rooms that are in view for today's date. Now, if I want to clear that, then you'll notice that in the top right-hand corner of this action bar, there's actually a clear button. And anytime you click that button, what it does, it resets the screen and brings us back to the default view and basically allows you to start again. If I was to click, for example, the next 7 days in the date picker, you'll notice that the next 7 days have now been highlighted in the availability screen. So a really quick way for the operator to select those particular dates. If you're wanting to do a custom range using the date picker, that can also be done. So let's just say, for example, I want to block out from between the 15th and, say, the 23rd of November. I can click to select the 15th, and you'll notice that as I sort of scroll and drag my mouse over the dates, it's highlighting all the dates that I'm highlighting. And what it's expecting me to do now is click the end date that I wish to update. So, for example, if I select the 23rd, it has now selected the date range between the 15th of November and the 23rd of November, and as a result, highlighted the dates that I have, in fact, selected. So the date picker is one way that you can actually select date, and you can obviously jump between dates using the arrows, the drop downs, and so on as well. One of the other ways that you can actually select dates as well is using the calendar dates that you can view at the top of the page. Now, what I mean by this is that if I, for example, selected and clicked Tuesday the 22nd of November up here, it's actually going to select that whole column for that date for all the rooms that are viewable. So that's another way that we can actually select dates. And I can select multiple dates as well and continue to do that if I wanted to. I'll just clear that. The other way that you can select dates is individually on this screen. So for example, I could start clicking on random dates for all the rooms that are in view. And what this is doing is, you'll notice the date picker in the top left-hand corner is saying that we've selected various dates. And this will allow me to update the availability for those dates that I have highlighted for those individual rooms there. The last way that you can actually select dates is by dragging your mouse over the dates itself. So you'll notice here that if I just click and drag, I can start to actually draw a box around the dates that I want to actually highlight. So that's another way that you can actually select dates. I hope everybody's seeing that there. So there are a number of ways that we've improved the date selection in regards to setting up availability, and depending on the preference of you or the operator when updating availability, you have all those options at your disposal, keeping in mind that at any time you want to clear your selection, just click the clear button in the top right hand corner. Now when it comes to viewing rooms, we have a rooms drop down that you'll notice is up the top action bar here. Now where this really comes in handy is that there are a lot of tourism operators and accommodation providers that have many rooms. I know Parks Victoria, as an example, for their campsites, have a long list of rooms for one specific operator. And we've now made it easier to view and update specific rooms out of a very long list, because prior to this change, when you were viewing the availability screen, you basically were looking at a whole list of rooms, and that's pretty much what you got. So now you can actually select or deselect specific rooms to update. So by default, when you come to the availability screen, all the rooms that you have created are visible. But what I can do, if I wanted to only select specific rooms there to view, there are a couple of ways I can do that. The first way is I can firstly deselect all the rooms and then tick on the ones that I only want to view. And you'll notice straight away that only the 2 rooms that I've selected are now in view. If I press the clear button, again it's going to reset the page and bring us back to bring us back to the beginning so we can start again if need be. Another way I can do it is if I actually tick the rooms themselves, they will actually not display. Now if I untick all the rooms, by default it's going to bring back all rooms, so you're not going to be hiding all the rooms there. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can deselect all the rooms and select a specific room, or when all the rooms have actually been selected, you can just remove the ticks from the ones you don't wish to see. Now once you've selected your rooms, once again, if you wanted to update the availability for specific rooms, whether you're using the date picker, whether you're clicking and dragging, whether you're using the calendar at the top, any updates I do right now are only going to be for the 2 rooms that have been selected. And it's probably good to point out that at any time you are making updates to availability, your updates will always apply to the rooms that are selected in this drop-down. Okay, so selecting rooms, that's you can actually now filter those and hide the rooms that you don't wish to see. I'll just clear that. Now once you've actually selected the rooms that you wish to update, so for example I'm just going to select our honeymoon suite here, these 3 days, and you'll notice that the date picker, because I've selected the honeymoon suite, I've said okay, we've selected between the 10th of November and the 12th of November. The honeymoon suite special, it's got the smarts to realise I've only selected the room availability for that room. And now when we come to updating the availability itself, we're presented with the action and value options. Now with availability, we now have the option to either set the availability to a specific value, increase the availability by a specific value, or decrease the availability by a specific value. And I'll just explain how that all works. So with set availability to, if I was to say set the availability to 8 rooms, what I'm basically saying is that these 3 dates that I've selected, I want the availability to be 8 rooms only. I want to set it to 8 rooms. If I click save, it'll have a bit of a thing, and you'll notice that now it has updated the rooms, the room availability to 8 rooms here. Now, if I basically decide to set the availability back to 10 rooms, because 10 is our maximum, and click save. Oh, sorry, I need to highlight the dates again and click save. Then what it's now done is amended the availability back to 10 rooms. In addition to what I've just done, instead of setting the availability to a specific value, I may decide to decrease the availability by 5 rooms. And by doing that and clicking save, what it does, it actually decreases the availability by 5. I can then decide to increase the availability for our 5 rooms to, say, another 2 rooms, and what that will do, instead of having 5 rooms available, we now have 7 rooms. Now, one thing I'll also mention that is if I decide to set the availability to, say, 20 rooms, and I click save, you'll notice that it's set the availability to 10 rooms. And the reason for that, if I check out our detailed view, is that for this specific room I'm updating, the maximum number of rooms available is 10 rooms. So it's not going to allow me to apply availability more than the maximum number of rooms available. Another thing I'll point out to when updating the availability is when I went and updated this specific room as well, I'll just set the availability to, I'll say I'll decrease it by 2 rooms. It's changed it to 8 rooms, but you'll notice that down below here, it's actually also changed the availability of our king room. Now, the reason why it's changed the availability of our king room, and I'll just open this in a new tab, is because our honeymoon suite special room is actually linked to our king room. So this is where linked availability comes in. So we've linked the 2 rooms together. In addition to linking the 2 rooms together, for our honeymoon suite special, I also set it up to say that if availability is manually adjusted, then all the linked rooms are adjusted accordingly. So because I've linked it to our king room and I've done a manual adjustment to availability, it's going to manually adjust the availability of that linked room. So when I go back to my availability screen, and I can see here that I have actually updated our honeymoon suite specials room by reducing the number of rooms to 8. What this has done, if I expand our room, is that we have closed out 2 rooms here in our honeymoon suite special by updating the availability, decreasing it by 2. And when I go and view our king room now, you'll notice that a new row has appeared, our linked row. Now, this is a new row that we have introduced to the Bookeasy availability screen in the detail view, and this row will only appear in the event that linked availability has implemented itself to a room. Now, the reason why we've added it is we wanted to provide greater transparency to operators as to why availability is reduced and shows a specific value. So the purpose of the linked row, so in this case where we're seeing the value of 2 in this linked row, it's therefore reducing the availability from 10 rooms to 8 rooms. So at a glance here, we can see that this particular room, the king room, is set to availability of 8 rooms for these 3 dates as a direct result of closeouts that have happened through linked availability. So the linked availability row is pretty much just the same as the closeout, except it's an indication that the closeout has occurred as a direct result of linked availability. Okay, because before it would have just, before we made the update, it was just a closeout, and there was no way to really tell, well, was that because somebody's manually gone in and manually closed out the room itself, or was it as a result of a closeout that happened in another room where this room was linked to it. Okay, so we've made that a little bit more transparent. Okay, so I hope that's clear to everyone. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask away there as well, and we'll tackle those. So if I expand both of these rooms, just once again to clarify, is that we have a closeout of 2 rooms, reducing the availability of the honeymoon suite special to 8 rooms, and because it's linked, it has closed out those 2 rooms to 8, and we can see that represented in the linked availability row right here. Okay. All right. Now, another really handy tip to know in regards to the availability screen, not just for you, but for your tourism operators, is that on this page, we have added a link right here in regards to help documentation that is provided for the tourism operators and everyone. So if I click on the View Help Documentation button, what it's going to do, it's going to open up our documentation. It's a slide in regards to managing room availability. Now, this slide, you'll notice in the bottom, if you can see this in the bottom left-hand corner, it's telling us we're on slide 28, because what we've actually done is we've added the documentation for everything regarding room availability to the Bookeasy starter kit for self-managed accommodation operators. And the link will take them straight to the slide where they can go ahead and start looking at all the details regarding room availability. How to access it, obviously they already would have accessed it, but an indication of what all the fields represent in regards to the date picker, the rooms drop down, the action drop down, the value fields and the monthly select and all the various ways, what all the rows represent, and so on and so on. So this documentation is readily available to everyone via this screen, and we've also added it, I'll just rehash that, on our news release that from yesterday at the bottom of the page in regards to the availability screens. We've got this link here which will open up that document as well. Okay, so so that's room availability. What I'll do now is I will move forward now to the Bookeasy Staff console, and I've got that open in a tab just here, and I'll just refresh to make sure I'm still logged in here, which I should be. So in regards to the, let me reload the page. Sorry guys. Okay, just going to log into our test console. Okay, all right. So now that we've logged into our Bookeasy console here, the first thing I'll want to discuss is the new booking timer that we've introduced into the system and where you can go to set that up. Now again, in regards to the timer settings, the first thing I'll really point out is that we have created a help guide. So in the Bookeasy Staff console, if I click Get Help, it'll take us to help.bookeasy.com. And what we've done is, I'll make the screen a little bit bigger, is under our Tourism Centre e-kit, I'll scroll down, I think at the moment it's on the second page, we have a new article referring to Bookeasy's booking timer. Okay, now this booking timer help document, you can expand that to full view, and what this will do is give you a quick guide for managing the booking timer for your Bookeasy Staff console and destination website, what it's designed for, how you can access it, and it also discusses everything in regards to what all the settings mean. So that's again at help.bookeasy.com, where you can get help under the Tourism Centre e-kit. So back to our staff console. To access the settings for the booking timer, it's under our booking administration section. So if I filter our menu options to booking administration and click on the link there, it will load our booking administration page. And again, I'll just make this screen a little bit bigger for everyone to view. Now as I scroll down the page, you'll find here that we have our booking timer defaults. Okay. Now by default, obviously I'm in a test console, but by default everybody's in, we've got two settings, one for the internal cart and one for the public cart. Now the difference between the internal cart and the public cart is the internal cart applies to your Bookeasy Staff console, and the public cart refers to your website. Now the internal cart, I think we've defaulted it for everyone to 20 minutes. So there's three settings here: reserved for, warning at, and extend by. Now the reserved for drop down, that is the time interval you want the booking timer to start at. So as soon as you put something in the shopping cart, what do you want the timer to start at? And I think, yeah, all the defaults are set up as 20 minutes. So the countdown will start from 20 minutes and start going down. But you can adjust it here. So for the purposes of this particular exercise in today's webinar, I've just adjusted it to 3 minutes. Then we have a warning at drop-down. Now what the warning at drop-down is that when the time interval for the booking timer reaches, in this example, 2 minutes, then a warning will appear to say, and it's designed to sort of give a warning to say, hey, your time is going to start to run out. Do you need more time? And that's the sort of display query that that you will get in the Bookeasy Staff Console, and you'll have an option then to extend the time. When you click the option to extend the time, it will extend the time by whichever interval you've set up in the extend by option here. So I'll click it, and in this example, it'll extend my time by 1 minute. So in my specific setup here, it's going to, when I put something in the shopping cart, it's going to reserve it for 3 minutes and start a countdown. At 2 minutes, I'm going to get a warning to ask if I need more time. And then if I do need more time and click the action to extend the time, it's going to extend it by 1 minute. When it comes to the public cart options here, this is actually disabled by default for everybody. And there's a very good reason why we've done that. In order for the booking, and we've got a little note here down below here sort of explaining in brief. Now, in order for the booking timer to display on a website, your web developer will actually need to implement and style the booking timer for public display. Okay. Now, the reason for that is because for all destination websites, whether they're developed by Bookeasy Digital or developed by a third-party developer, when the shopping cart is part of the Bookeasy gadgets. And the gadget, anytime that you introduce a new element into a gadget integration, it's going to add those elements to the design, and all the designs are set up, and the shopping cart and whatnot are all set up to be pixel perfect and sit within your website. So in order for it to display properly, you need your web developer to style it according to your website's theme to make sure everything sits where it needs to sit. So that's why we've disabled it by default. But I'll come back to that a little bit more very shortly. I've switched it on for the purpose of this exercise in my test console to show you, but in short, this is where you can come in and actually set your defaults under booking administration. Now, if I go back to our main dashboard, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to search and book accommodation. Now, what I might do is I'll actually book accommodation for the tourism operator that I'm actually logged into at the moment, so you can see the relationship between the two. So what I'll do is I'm going to do a search for, let's have a look. Nathan's luxury apartments, so for 3 nights for today's date. Okay. So here we have our operator, Nathan's Luxury Apartments for 3 nights. Now, if I expand the rooms to book the room, whether you're doing this on the operator's profile page in the Bookeasy Staff Console or right here, I'm going to select a random room. Yeah, I might select our King room here. And right now, instead of adding and checking out, I'm just going to add it to the cart. Now, when I add it to the cart, a couple of things are actually going to happen. It tells them that the item has been added successfully, right here. And you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, we have a shopping cart icon that now displays. Now, if I hover off that, the icon itself is just displaying there and not really doing too much. If I hover over it, then you'll notice that it's telling us that our cart is reserved for now another 2 minutes and 30-odd seconds. It started at 3 minutes, which was the default starting, set up in booking administration, and it is now counting down. If I go back to our operator console, and I'm just going to refresh our page here, then for our King room, you'll notice that in the operator's console here, the reserved row now has a value of 1 for the 3 dates that I'm actually booking for. So by adding it to the booking timer, what it's actually doing is it's automatically reducing the availability of this room by 1 value because I'm booking 1, and it is until I actually reserve it or delete it from the cart or end my session. So that's where this reserved row comes in. It is actually reducing availability automatically, which means no one else is going to be able to book this room. If I go back to our Bookeasy console, you'll notice now that we actually have this warning appearing. It's saying your card is still reserved but will expire in 1:27, and that's because as soon as I hit 2 minutes, we receive that warning. And if I click I need more time, then it's going to add another minute to my timer, because I said when I extend it, I want to extend it by 1 minute. So you'll notice that as we do the countdown here, it's still counting down. And when it goes to, again, 2 minutes, I'll probably receive that warning again, because I said when it hits 2 minutes, I want to, that's where I want the warning. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this out. And when I go check out, it's going to take us to our shopping cart. All right, we're still seeing the timer. Now this timer will always display in the shopping cart page and in the next page where you fill out the guest's details. So it'll always be visible. You won't need to hover over it to actually view it or whatnot. You're going to be able to see that at any time. So this there obviously is reserving the availability still in the operator's console, and it's counting down the time here. Now, we have a question, how many times can users click that they need more time? They can actually only just click on it the one time, because as soon as I click I need more time, then what it's going to do is it's going to add another minute. But I guess at the end of the day, they're going to be able to click it as, the option to click I need more time will always be present when the time interval is less than the time interval for the warning you set up under booking administration. So again, if I go back to booking administration, let's have a look, and scroll down to where we set the warning at. So we said we want a warning at 2 minutes, okay? So you'll be able to click it as any time the timer is under that 2 minute period, but it'll only ever extend itself by 1 minute. So if I click it enough times where it extends the timer to be over 2 minutes, I'm not going to receive that message. Now you'll notice that the timer is about to expire. So it's going down to 10 seconds now. It's almost running out. I'm going to let that just run down. No need to panic though. So now it says our card has expired. You may still be able to book the product in your card, but we can't guarantee they'll be available. Now the reason for that is if I go back to our operator's console, before when we had it in the card and the booking timer was going, it basically reserved these 3 rooms and therefore reduced the availability. Now if I refresh our page and view our king room, you'll notice for those 3 dates, it's no longer reserved and our availability has been put back. And that's because the time has run out and it is no longer reserving the availability. But we do provide you an option to attempt to reserve the cart again. So if the time has run out, you can do one of 2 things. You can delete your cart, which basically removes it from your shopping cart, and that means you're done with this booking. Or you can attempt to reserve it again. And if I click attempt to reserve cart, what it actually does, it starts the timer again from scratch. So you can see there the card is now reserved for another 3 minutes and it's counting down. And if I jump back to our operator's console and refresh the page once again, you'll see that our king room, when I expand that, our king room is now has that reserved and has therefore reduced the availability. Okay. So if I proceed to checkout, then you'll notice the card is still being reserved and you'll get thrown the warnings and so on, and then you can go ahead and make the booking. And I'll just make this booking in this example. Oh, got fat fingers today. Alright, and I'll just select anything just to finalize this booking. So I'm going to make that booking. Now, this booking has now been made and the shopping cart has now been cleared. Okay. If I now go to our operator's console and refresh this page, then now when I view our king room and expand it to view, you'll notice that the availability has still been reduced by 1. So we now only have 9 available, but that booking that I've just done is now represented in the bookings row. We have now have a booking in there which is reducing the availability. So that's the booking timer explained in regards to how it functions for the Bookeasy staff console. keeping in mind that under booking administration is where you can set those timer defaults. Those timer defaults right there, and the public cart is disabled by default. Now, in regards to the public cart, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump to Parks Victoria's website. Now, Parks Victoria have enabled the public cart on their website. This was activated actually only this morning. And what this allows is for the consumers to reserve availability when an item is actually booked. So what you'll find is if I go to a tourism operator's page, in this the caves here, then I'm going to just answer some booking questions here that have been set up. And what I want to get to is you'll notice that when I get go to add the item to the cart, that you'll notice that at the top of the screen a sticky menu bar has appeared, which is now counting down the booking timer. So this is part of the Bookeasy gadgets and has been implemented by Bookeasy Digital and styled by Bookeasy Digital to match the theme of this website. I can click the shopping cart icon here to display what's in the cart, and if I wanted to remove what was in the cart here, I can certainly do that. Currently, Parks Victoria have set the default timer to that default of 20 minutes, but of course they have the ability to set whichever time interval they wish in regards to that. And this booking timer also flows through to the final booking page as well, and everywhere on the website actually. So when you click around on the website, this is a sticky menu item which is displaying the cart, and it's here on the where we're seeing the cart here on the final booking page to fill everything out. And it's also mobile responsive, so we made sure that when we added it to the actual website itself, I don't know if you can see that there, it's actually fully responsive as well. So when someone's viewing it on their mobile phone, it's actually sticky menu up here where they can access the cart and view the timer at any time. So in regards to the settings for the booking timer, again I'll just clarify that to switch it on, it's done here in your Bookeasy staff console under booking administration. It's the public cart where you need to switch that on. But you only switch that on once the development side of it has been done. Now in regards to the development side of it, as part of the news release that we did yesterday on bookeasy.com in regards to this enhancements in the booking timer, right down the bottom of this screen we actually have a link for further information in regards to the booking timer integration, especially for third-party developers. That will navigate the end user to Bookeasy Digital's website, where we have a profile page set up that talks all about the booking timer integration, including what it does, best practice implementation and how it can be enabled, what the various reserve for, warning and extend by options represent, and also our recommendations in regards to the code that is utilized to make it active, because in regards to its implementation there is custom text. Again, I'll just make my page a little bit bigger so you can see it. There's custom text that can be implemented so that when it hits the warning phase, what do you want to say to the guest online? I need more time, or you can change the text to say whatever you wish. Once the cart has expired, the default text that says your cart has expired, that text can be changed again to suit your needs. And then the button that allows you to reserve the cart also allows you to, you're able to change the text there as well. So we've provided all this documentation for third-party developers to implement that on their site, and that can be found on Bookeasy Digital's website and via our press release. Now in saying that, I actually have a test gadget just set up using our test console here that's set up with that 3-minute interval. And the reason why I wanted to show you that was that by default you'll notice here that our gadgets, what we're seeing here is the Bookeasy gadgets that are not styled whatsoever. But you'll notice that as soon as I added something to the cart, the Bookeasy gadgets have started the countdown from 3 minutes on our gadgets, which is starting to count down there. Now, once it hits 2 minutes, what we'll find is that the 2 minutes, we'll get that warning occur here. So I've only got less than 30 seconds to go to actually see this warning. So what we're actually seeing here is exactly what's on Parks Victoria's website. The only difference being is that our developers have specifically styled the booking timer to match the theme of the website to make it as user-friendly as possible. And because every website is developed a little bit differently, whether it's by Bookeasy Digital or by a third-party developer, you may wish to have a think about how you may want to best implement the booking timer on your website. Now you'll notice that the cart now has dropped below 2 minutes, and as a result it's giving us an option that says I need more time. And coming back to our documentation in regards to the booking timer integration, that key messaging, I need more time, can be adjusted to, the text can be adjusted to whatever messaging you wish to possibly change it to or customize. If I click I need more time, then you'll notice that straight away it has extended my cart by the value that I set up in my public cart, which in this case again was 1 minute. Okay. So once again, the booking timer, if I go back to our integration here, if I check that out and go to our final booking page, it applies itself to that final booking page and continues to count down. If it's integrated on your website correctly, then the shopping cart should appear on all your pages. So if the end user is navigating to other content pages on your website, then you'll be able to they'll be able to see it and get the messaging that they need more time, or if it expires, attempt to reserve the cart again, just as if it would have on your Bookeasy staff console. Okay, so so we've got a question here in regards to so we've got a question here. I'll just turn over to Rebecca for a moment.
Yeah, Nathan, so we've got a question in regards to the booking timer setting. So can that, is that only applicable at the visitor centre console level, or can it be applied at an operator or product level as well? Yeah,
so the development's been done at the visitor centre level. So all these booking timer defaults that you see, the internal cart will apply to the Bookeasy staff console. For that specific visitor centre or tourism centre, and then with the public cart it will apply itself to all gadget integrations for that destination, that particular destination. So it's done at a destination level via the Bookeasy staff console. So I guess coming back to the front-end timer integration, such as Parks Victoria's website here, if anybody has their website developed by Bookeasy Digital, don't hesitate to contact Bookeasy Digital and they can arrange to provide you a quote in regards to implementing the booking timer. And the reason why, again, we provide a quote is just for the work that's required in regards to styling it and applying it to your website. And we can discuss more about that. So don't hesitate to contact Bookeasy Digital in regards to that. For those who have a third-party developer, you can contact your developer and provide them with the booking timer information here, and they will most likely provide you with a quote in regards to implementing it to your site so it's styled correctly. There. So do we have any other questions? Okay, channel managers. So in regards to the new availability screens and channel manager connections, one thing I would like to point out is that we, as in Bookeasy, we sent out communication to all our channel manager partners prior to this release to advise them of this change. Now, for all our channel managers that are connecting to Bookeasy via our certified API, there's no change required for them. There's no impact to them, and there's nothing they need to do. The information we sent them was really more of a courtesy. I know back in the day there were certain channel managers that were screen scraping Bookeasy to update availability, and that relies, and then if any channel manager was screen scraping Bookeasy, if we were to make a change to the actual page itself, that would sort of break that. But all our channel managers are connecting to us via our certified API, which is fantastic. So there's minimal or no impact for them in regards to this change. Well, there's no impact really. The only thing really to keep in mind is that this change, what we're seeing here in the availability screen for the tourism operators, it doesn't really apply much to any tourism operator who is using a channel manager to maintain their availability. Where it really only applies is if they want to maybe cross-reference the availability that is in their Bookeasy console to what is in their channel manager. So that's where they can be aware of the changes. And again, keeping in mind, we have the help documentation in the top right-hand corner, which will take them straight to where they need to know in regards to these enhancements. All right, do we have any other questions?
Yes, the questions come through from Tracy. She is wanting to know whether the actual availability screen is responsive on all devices such as an Android phone.
Okay. Now, from what I understand, it's responsive up to a point, and it was really difficult to get this done. So you'll sort of see here that, well, I guess the short answer is no, not really. What we've had to do in regards to this enhancement is the first step was, this project, again, this was over 6 months in the making, and there was a lot of background stuff in updating the availability schema to make this work. So one of the challenges that we're facing moving forward is how best to provide a user interface to provide this option here. And we've seen other examples, and we toyed around with some ideas when we did this, but to be completely honest, they didn't quite provide the level of functionality that we were wanting to provide. So at this stage, it isn't quite responsive. Tablets and desktops, it'll be A-OK. For phones, you will still most likely need to access it. You have maybe a little bit of problem accessing it there from there. Now, while it sort of touched base on the amount of work that went into this, I would also like to point out that when I talk about now that we've moved to a new availability schema, there have been some massive improvements we've done to the functionality of availability, where in the past, the way that Bookeasy had worked behind the scenes to do availability, there were certain architectural issues that could have presented itself when it came to things like linked availability that were identified over the years and basically needed a whole rewrite, and that's what we've done here. So now that we've launched it, we had a massive day yesterday. It was a very positive day. We worked through the release, and we've worked through everything that really came up as a result of our launch yesterday of this, and we're going to pump this along over the next few months to make sure everything's A-OK, and we're really looking forward to then applying it to tours and tickets. And one of the flow-on effects with what we've done there is that it will also free up the constraint that tickets currently have, where we cap tickets to a maximum, ticket product to a maximum of 999 allocations. So this new schema will fix that. We just need to apply it. So from what I understand, it's probably still about we need about a month's work of development to do that, which we'll be scheduling next year to get that over the line. Once we're done there. Any other questions while we're here, Bex, before we wrap this up?
No, pretty much I've just suggested that any sort of constructive feedback that you're fielding from your tourism operators, if you can just get those through to the support team in dot point, because that would be really helpful, particularly as I guess we're rolling out the second phase and things like that, particularly for tour operators, because I suppose a key feedback that Tracy's mentioned is obviously with tour operators particularly, they rely on their mobile devices because they're out on the road, so we may need to factor that in.
Excellent. Just to rehash too, this session has been recorded, so I'll be uploading a link to this recording to everyone at the conclusion of this. I'd like to also thank everybody for attending today. It was a big day yesterday at Bookeasy, and I hope you guys feel that this is a positive step forward. It's definitely improved our system in regards to the way it's handling availability, an improvement to the operator consoles, and with the new booking timer, you now have options not only in your Bookeasy staff console, but for your destination websites to better provide bookings to your consumers. All right, so we'll wrap it up there. Thanks again, everyone, and don't hesitate to let us know if you have any questions after this through Bookeasy support, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again.